Hello everyone and welcome back. So in today's video we are going to focus on a very important topic, and that is not only in terms of the knowledge but also in terms of industry standard that is going to be very helpful for you, because today we are going to see a CRUD operation using scheduler, which is widely used in the industries currently. And we'll be also seeing why do we need scheduler and when exactly do we use scheduler, and that also will be using JPA in our Spring Boot project. So it is going to be a very informative and very learning session. And this video is going to be a little long because we are going to create a Spring Boot project from the very beginning. So if you want to follow this and if you want to do this practical with me, you can grab a coffee and you can sit with your laptop and you can do this project. You can follow me and you can do this project. Okay, so we are going to take the help of Spring Initializer to create the Spring Boot starter application. And what are all the dependency that we'll be picking, if we'll be seeing each and everything in detail step by step. So just stay with me till the end, and this is going to be very helpful for the especially for the college students and for the beginner professionals, because this is going to be kind of very helpful session. Even if you are preparing for the interviews also, this is going to be very helpful. So I have just chosen the language here as Java. Project is Maven we are using here. Then Spring Boot, I have taken the latest version. Group name I'm keeping the same as com example. Here I will just mention it as scheduler, and here I will just name it as CRUD scheduler. That is it. We are keeping the packaging jar, and Java version we are keeping it as 17. Let's add all the dependency that we need. First is obviously we need this dev tool, so that we don't need to every time go ahead and restart and reload the application to see the changes. Then Spring Web, it's a must and essential for the RESTful web services. Then other one we need here is the Lombok, also will be taking. Why do we need Lombok? And if you are not familiar, then Lombok basically reduce the boilerplate code. So if you're working with entity or model classes, you don't need to every time go ahead and write getter setters, two strings and everything. It just works with simple annotation, and also it has all the uh, logger functionality also that we can use from Lombok. We'll be seeing this, everything we'll be seeing in detail, don't worry. Other than this, we need Spring Data JPA because we will be using JPA. Then there is something that is H2 database. If you are not familiar with H2 database, it's nothing but it's an in-memory database. That means whatever the like this basically we are using for any POC kind of project that we are doing. So that time we are not going to go ahead and set up a new complete DB and table creation and everything in another server. So apart from this H2 database, you can also in your like corporate world where you are doing simple POC of any project, so that point of time you can go ahead with H2 database. So it is an in-memory database, and that is why it is very fast. It stays in our memory, and we'll be seeing the setup and everything in detail. So these are all the dependencies that is currently needed for us. So you just need to go ahead, click on generate, and it will create a zip file. You just need to unzip it and then you are good. Just import that in your favorite IDE. I have already done this, so the project currently looks like this. So I have one com example scheduler package that we have created, com example scheduler, and then all the dependencies will be loaded here for you. So, and you just sometimes, if everything is not refreshed, you just go ahead under Maven and click on update project, so it will refresh the project once again. So that is all for now. So let me just quickly, this was my project which was already running, so I just want to go ahead and delete one thing so that I can show you one proper thing in detail. So I'm just deleting one folder. I will tell you what exactly that folder was. So first thing that I want to set up here is our H2 database. So H2 database, let me quickly pull up few configurations here and then I will explain you. First of all, let me just quickly pull this configuration here. So what this property will do here is, see, if we'll use this in your application properties file, so this will create an in-memory database and the database name will be testdb. Okay, so this is an MEM testdb. So testdb is our database name, and this particular property will create a in-memory database, H2 database, and the database name will be testdb. But the problem with this particular configuration is, if you start your application, the data will be there, but as soon as you will stop the application, you will lost the data. But we don't want to do that. So instead of this, we are going to do this. So what exactly is the difference? See here, what this configuration will do is, it will create a data folder inside my local. It will just go one step back from this src main resources, and then it will create a data folder, and in that data folder it will create a file testdb. Okay, so apart from this, we have something called, one second, let me just paste this property, h2 console. So why h2 console we need to enable? Because this, whatever the configuration and whatever the dbs that we will insert or create this schema, we can see this in the console. It's a web console. We will be able to see it in the browser. We'll be seeing everything in detail. Don't worry, we are currently setting up everything. So you just need to know for your own knowledge also, and even if you are working for any personal project and even for your interviews kind of thing also. So this might be helpful for you. Okay. So these two are the kind of properties currently we need. Okay. So what I can do is, let me just go ahead and just see if our database is created or not. So I'll just quickly run this application. Spring will pick all the details and it will start this. So let's just go ahead and check everything. So what it says, Tomcat started on port 8080. Then it says H2 console available as H2 console. Okay. Then database available at this. Okay, so let me just quickly go ahead in my local and check if I have the data folder created or not. So in scheduler, currently there is no data folder that is created. So let me just quickly go ahead, Maven, update the project. All right. Let me quickly go ahead in the folder once again, and let me quickly check this. Now I have the data folder and testdb. So sometimes if your data is not getting refreshed, what you need to do is go ahead, click on Maven and click on update project. Okay, so now we can see that port 8080 is currently active for us, and a database is available on /h2 console. So let me just open up the browser and type localhost 8080/h2 console. So now you can see the console is currently active. We are able to fetch. Now we didn't set up any username and password. If you want to do the setup of username and password, these are the two properties that you need to use. I'll mention those in the description. If you want to change the driver name also, you can set the driver name, but currently by default, whatever it is available, we will be using the same. Okay. And now what exactly you need to mention here in JDBC URL is the same thing that we have mentioned here in application property, and also here in the console you can see, let me just quickly show you where exactly that thing is. Yeah, here we can see it is currently available at H2 console, and database available at like JDBC H2 file/data/testdb. The same thing I mentioned here. Now we'll just test the connection. It says connection successful. Now we will connect. Now let me go ahead and create one table here. One thing I forgot to mention, if you want to Spring to create the tables and everything, you can go ahead and under resources, you can create one file schema.sql, and you can put your DDL commands, whatever the data definition language commands like create, truncate, whatever it is, you can put that and Spring will pick and execute. And if there is any insert DML commands, insert, update, delete, whatever, then you can put that in a data.sql file. So these are the two files that you can create and you can put it, but currently we are just going to go ahead with the console based. So I'm going to create one employee, the standard we are following, employee table, and sorry, we'll just name it as ID, and this is going to be a varchar. Just put it as 20 is fine. Then name, ID is obviously going to be int, not the varchar. Name varchar, it's 20, and then we'll just put one more, which is city, and this is also varchar and 20. Fine, looks good. Let me just go ahead and execute it. So table is created. Fine, let me just insert some data here. Insert into employee. Now values 1, then some name. Let me put it at Java. It's a single quote, not the double. And then city, suppose Patna. Fine. Let me quickly select it and run it. So it's inserted. Let me quickly go ahead and check. Don't worry, we will be starting soon. We are done with the database creation and inserting one data here. So we can see here we have one employee table created, and we have inserted one value. Now what we are going to do is, first of all, we are done with the H2 setup. Now we are going to perform CRUD operation using JPA and scheduler. We are not going to create any controller endpoints, and we are not going to hit it from the postman or anything, but it will automatically run the methods. That is the use of scheduler. So for example, in your application, if you want to delete some data, for example, you have created an application and there are some dummy data, like some user data which is older, like that. If you want to clean up your database, so for that kind of activity we generally create schedulers. For example, if you want to clean up your database for the user who is 1 year, like whose data is 1 year older or something like that, or any condition based, so you can create a scheduler that will run every month or every year or every week, and that will check the conditions, and then that will execute the particular method. So we'll be seeing this also. So we have already one com scheduler package. The first thing that we want to do, as we are going to deal with the JPA, we are going to create one package called entity, and here we are going to create one entity class. Okay, so let me go ahead and create entity class named employee. This is what we named it here, so I'm going to keep the same. Okay, so as this is going to be our entity class, we'll annotate it with @entity and also with @table. Fine, I will just, for the safer side, I will just mention the name also here so that it won't mismatch. Looks great. Now we will mention here as private int. First thing we have is ID, then second is varchar, so it is string, then another is private string, and it's city. Great. So this is nothing but ID, and other one are nothing but it's column. Fine. So we are good with the entity. Now another thing is, we are going to create the getters and setters. For that we are taking help of Lombok. So at the rate data will create all the getter setters, all the necessary hash code equals and the two strings. All right. So that we are done with the entity class. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create one repository package first and then one repository. So let me just name it as repository, spelling mistake. All right. And then here I'm going to create one repository class. It should not be a class, it should be an interface basically, because we are going to extend JPA repository there. So let me go ahead and create one interface employee. I will name it as employee repo. Okay, fine. Then what we are going to do, we are going to use JPA repository. So we just need to extend JPA repository. Okay, what exactly it wants? No, we don't need JPA repository, and the type ID, obviously what exactly the type of ID is going to be an integer because we have ID of type int, and it will take the entity employee. What we have created, employee, EMPLOYYE. Yeah, it's employee. Looks great. And we should annotate with @repository. Okay, so we are also done with the repository. Don't worry, it is taking little long, but this is going to be very helpful for you, because we have created the application from very scratch, and this is going to be very helpful. We are doing all the configuration changes and everything in detail. So just stay with me, and I request you that you follow this tutorial, you do also the same thing with me, so that you will have in-depth learning. All right, let me just stop this for now. It is already running. We don't want to keep it running every time we make the changes and save it, because we have used DevTool, Spring DevTool dependency, so it will just try to fetch every time we save it. Okay, we have stopped it for now. Once we are done, we'll restart it. Okay, so we are good with entity and repository. Now we are going to create one service class, and from service we'll be calling the repository. We won't be creating any controller, but we will make the methods in service as scheduler. So let me go ahead and create one package, and I will name it as service. Let me hit finish, and I will just go ahead and create a name, employee service. All right, so we have employee service. Let me just go ahead and annotate with it @service. Okay, and then another thing that we want to do here is, let me just quickly create one method. It's a public method, return type we don't want, and it's a CRUD. Let me just name it as CRUD scheduler. Okay, CRUD scheduler, we have named it. Fine. So let me just quickly just put one sys out to check if the scheduler is working fine or not. So I will just name it as, like, mention it here as a scheduler running fine. And to enable the scheduler in our main application file, where we have @SpringBoot annotation, we just need to enable our Spring enable scheduling. You need to mention the enable scheduling here, and then in service class you just need to annotate it with the @scheduled. Okay, and currently what we are going to do here is we are going to run this method at fixed rate, and in fixed rate it takes millisecond value. So after every 4 seconds, so 4000 milliseconds, after every 4 seconds this method should run. Okay, let me go ahead and we need to closely watch this console here. Let me start this application and then observe the console. So I've started the Java application. All right, started CRUD scheduler application. Yeah, you can see scheduler running is getting printed here. All right, looks great. That means it's working fine for us. I will go ahead and stop this. So now we know that our scheduler is running. Okay, we have this scheduler printed here. What we want to do here is we want to first go ahead and do the CRUD operation. So first we are going to see the create operation. That means the save. So we have employee object. So let me go ahead and create one employee uh, object reference here, employee object here. So it's a employee. One second, what exactly we have named it? Okay, it's we have named it in small employee. Let me just go ahead and quickly change it. It should not be, E should be in capital basically, because it's a class and class name should be a capital, not a small. Let me just go ahead and refactor and rename, and because it is confusing, because it will look like we are using the reference and not the class name. So let me go ahead and save it. Now here it's employee, and here also it's employee. That is it. Let me save it. Now in employee service, again here also we need to make the changes to employee, and here also to employee. Now employee is equal to new employee. All right, we are good. Now we need to set the datas here. Okay, we are not getting the setter here. That means there is some problem with the getter setter. So I think this lombok is not working. We need to check why this lombok is not fetching this. So for the time being, we are not going to debug it. We'll see that later on, or probably you can check this later if this thing is working fine for you. Otherwise you can just go ahead and generate the getter and setters. So from source you can generate the getter setters, and also from source you can go ahead and generate the toString. All right, so for some reason this lombok is not working for us. That is perfectly fine, no problem. We don't have any problem with that. Now we should be able to see these setters. Yeah, so I'm going to set the id to 2, and then again employee dot set, then name. From now java be set, now we'll set spring. Now again employee dot set city, and this time let's set to Pune. Okay, we are good with the object. Now JPA already has predefined methods. So like others, you don't need to go ahead and create one method to save, then you have to make a database connection, write a query and everything. So basic methods already provided by JPA, and we are going to utilize the same. Okay, we'll be writing one custom query also at the end for update, but for the time being, for read, create, update, delete, not the update, we are going to use the JPA only. Okay, so let me just go ahead and first auto wire this repository interface. So let me just go ahead and create the private, whatever repository name, it's employee repo, and let me just go ahead and auto wire it. Okay, fine. Now using this reference, we are going to call the method. Okay, so it's employee repo dot. Now you can see in employee repo we have not written any method. Let me just go ahead and bring it down. In employee repo interface, we are just extending this JPA repository. We have not written any method in this interface. Okay, but if you see, if I put dot here, we can see there are many suggestions: delete all, delete by id. So all these methods are offered by JPA. So to save the data, we have this save method. We have also save all, but we are using currently one particular data, so we are going to use save, and we just need to pass the object here. Now let me go ahead and run this application. So every time, it is like after 4 seconds it should run the command and it should save this particular data in our DB. So currently we have only one. Now after this particular command will execute, we should have two data in our DB. And we are also seeing that this particular method is being executed by default after a fixed rate. We'll be also writing cron expressions to see how we can run it at a fixed time, not a fixed time. Suppose if you want after every 6 hours or on every Monday 6 a.m. So like that also we can use a cron expression. We will see what exactly the cron expression is in some time, but for now let's just run this particular application. So let me just first see if the cron job is, yeah, scheduler is running. That means after scheduler it should have picked this particular save. Let me go ahead and select this query, run test connection, connect, and again let me just go ahead and run this. Now we have second data which is present now. So we have tested and it is working fine. We have stopped the application and now we have seen create and save. Now we are going to see the read. So to read the data, first of all let me just go ahead and delete it. We don't need this. All right, so let me go ahead. We don't want unnecessary things from here. All right, so save, we don't save, we are already done. Now we are going to do read. So for read we have find methods, find or get. If you see, get methods are also there, get by id. If you want to get any data by id, you can use get by id, but for now we are going to fetch all the details. So for that we are going to use find all, and find all does not take any parameter, and but it will return the list of employees. So let me just go ahead and create the list of employees, and here we have employee repo dot find all. Okay, so it's employee. Okay, so now after finding the details it will return list of employee, and we just want to print that out. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to use enhanced for loop for this. So it is nothing but the employee, we will keep it as employee and then employee. All right, looks fine. And then we are going to just use sysout. We have already used two strings, so it will print the details here using the like particular object itself. We don't need to go ahead and print each and every detail. Now let me just go ahead and run the application again, and in console, as we have used sysout, we'll be able to see the data. So I've run the application. Now you can see we have 1 2. Again after 4 seconds it has fetched the data. Again after 4 seconds it will fetch. Now again, so it will keep on fetching the data because we have a scheduler running at every 4 seconds. Let me just go ahead and stop it. Now we have these two data in our DB. Now we want to delete it. Update we'll be seeing at the end, but let's just see the update first and then we'll be seeing the delete. Update is little interesting. It's not like, because for update JPA does not have the update method by default, but for update we'll be writing a query. So you will also see how you can write custom queries in JPA. Okay, so find all we are already done. So now let me just go ahead in repo and let's create one custom method, because see, not every time the whatever JPA offers you are going to use. Sometimes your requirement is different based on some you want to write some complex queries, and based on that you want to do the operation. So obviously you need to write your own method and your own queries, right? So for that we are going to use a custom query. So for update, let's update. I'm keeping the name as simple, update employee, and it is going to take one value which is going to be an int id. Okay, that's it. Okay, and whenever you're going to create a custom method, you just need to annotate with @modifying to inform the Spring that this is a custom method, and we are also going to annotate with @query. So in @query we are going to use our query. So what we are going to do here is update table name. We have employee, update employee. I'm just keeping the employee's alias e, and set what exactly we want to change here as, let's just see, let me change the id to's name from Spring to JPA. Okay, so let's set name is equal to JPA, and where what exactly where e dot id is equal to, so this is the way you need to write is id. Whatever the id will be passing from this method, this is that id, and this e dot id is nothing but the table id. So where table id is equal to whatever we'll pass, and we'll pass 2 here. Here also you can pass the data from the parameters, but we are currently keeping it as simple query. Sometimes you also need @transactional to manage the transaction state. So for the safer side, we are using @transactional to manage the transaction state. We are good. Now let's use this update employee method from here. Update employee from here, and here we are passing 2. Okay. So now it should update the name of this ID now Spring to JPA. Okay, so let me just go ahead and run this particular application, and we'll be seeing in, okay, what exactly is the error we are getting. Let's see what error we have got. Could not resolve target entity employee. Okay, let's see where exactly we have got this error. Target entity employee. Okay, let's let me just quickly go ahead in the repo, and let's just see. Okay, looks like the database name or the table name isn't right. Let me just quickly check the table name. It's EMPLOYEE. It's EMPLOYEE. It should be fine. Okay, let me go ahead and repo employee. Let me just check. Sometimes if you are getting issue, it is also a good sign that you will be able to debug it. Employee repo.update. Let's just quickly check where exactly we have got. Could not create query for public abstract void com scheduler repository employee update employee. Okay, I think we have missed mentioning here as native query is equal to true. I think this should be the error. So if you are getting an error, you should be able to debug that also. That is also a very for a developer, that is also a very essential skill. So let me just quickly go ahead and run this and see if it is working fine or not. Okay, so now if you see scheduler is running, now we'll be seeing our h2 console. So now we'll refresh it again. We need to log in, connect. Let me just run it. Now you see the Spring is now changed to JPA, so it is working perfectly fine. Now we have two data. We'll be deleting all the data from here. So for deleting the data, what you need to do is there is nothing. From update employee, you just change it to delete all, which is an predefined method. So it's a delete all, and let me just save it. Now scheduler is already running. I have saved it. I did not stop it, so scheduler is already running. Now as soon as we will refresh it, we can see that there is no data, it is empty. So we have successfully performed all the operations here, CRUD operations, using the Spring Data JPA and the scheduler. So hope you have liked this particular video, and in coming videos we are going to see a lot many important and interesting stuffs like full stack complete projects we'll be working on. So if you have not subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe. And how did you like this particular tutorial and effort of solving this and making it interesting? If you liked it, just drop a comment so that I will also be aware that if you're liking this or not, if I have to make any changes in the way I am moving ahead. So that's all for today, and hope everything was perfect from your end also. That's all. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Thank you.